It's interesting because I really do have this sense more and more, which makes sense because as I'm getting older. As I heard John, I think he was quoting someone say, the first half of our life, we live out of our birth. The second half of our life, we live towards our death. And it's interesting, I'm 40, I think I'm 48. Yeah, I'm 48. So I know I'm probably not quite halfway there, but some part of me, I think thinks so. So I've been tracking this sense of what the difference is, because there is a difference. And it's not just the kinds of difference that, you would think, right? Of like, my skin looks different and, all the blessings of aging. And there's that stuff too. But it's more like, feels like there's some kind of fundamental frame change or something, right? And I do think that if I think back to when I was younger, so much of my resources were about being someone, right? Like constant thoughts and various like concerns and worries and tensions and elations. It all had to do with really being someone of significance, right? Mattering, like having the sense of that it was like possible that I could not matter, and that would be like the end of the world. In fact, the only thing that mattered was this thing that I call Guy, that he mattered. I remember as a teenager, it was like that impulse was just so intense. And I would imagine there's like biology has probably a lot to do with that, psychology, emotional development, all that stuff probably is all articulates that, but the phenomena of it, it's like it's such a drive to be someone. And I guess in some sense, the pressure, the intense pressure of that, I guess implicitly had this awareness, right? That one, it would be possible to not be someone. It would be possible to not matter. And that it seems to presuppose a background sense about life and identity, right? That in some sense I was given a life that I couldn't account for, I couldn't have asked for, right? We all just kind of, we're born and we kind of wake up at some point already with a first name and a last name and a boatload of concerns and hormones and problems and and then we kind of wake up already in the motion of that. And I think the pressure seemed to say something like, there was something connected to the pressure about justifying my own existence. Like there needed to be a justification. And that justification, to the degree that was justified, was really and somehow earned by who I was, what I did. Been thinking about it lately. It's like, yeah. Actually, when I was a teenager, I had this mentor. This really great guy. But he always sensed that in me, right? Because especially when I became a teenager, because as my ability to see more and more of the world took place, came with the recognition of how just big the world was and how much more difficult it would be to be someone in relationship to that world, right? As that capacity grew, my anxiety about significance and the pressure would just grow more intense. And it was just it was a constant thing of just, God, I used to worry about it all the time. You need to be somebody extraordinary, right? And it's funny, I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure society itself gives you all those kind of subtle messages. It wasn't like I had really people in my life harping down on me or something. It kind of felt like it came from like just the core of my existence, right? And it was like the self. Myself is like almost like myself was like a needy dog that was constantly like humping my leg. It just wouldn't stop. And I had a mentor that would always sense that in me, and he used to tell me, he's like, Guy, you don't, it's all right if you're not a big deal. He'd say that to me over and over and over again. He just randomly, because I could sense it. He's like, could feel this impossible pressure. I remember kind of vaguely knowing what he was talking about, but really not having any idea other than just conceptually understanding, but having no idea how to relate what he said to have any difference in how I felt. And of course, there's all that pressure. It's the main thing that's organizing everything else. And you couldn't really talk about it to anybody. I mean, I had really close friends that I'd have breakdowns with, and then perhaps it would come out, but it was just loaded with shame, because there was some sense of like somehow part of being extraordinary is not wanting to be or not needing to be. And like I've noticed that it seems like the frame change as I've gotten older. And I would imagine it's biology and hormones and development, maybe, who knows, maybe all that meditation actually did something. Now it starting to feel the idea of being, in some sense, insignificant actually feels relieving. And I think what's there, I think is what Corey talks about sometimes, right? Right, that at the deeper level, perhaps the real question is, based on what human beings are, what a self is that what we are, what you are, what I am, we are already more than we could ever accomplish. I think that's exactly what, quoting Corey here. And that just seems more and more deeply, deeply true. That in some way, human beings are a very special part of the universe. In a particular way. I had a conversation with Daniel. I think I'm probably upload that video tomorrow or something, but we were talking about this, that in some way, our particular, human beings' particular way that we are in relationship to being is unique. In that our existence is so much more like a space or a clearing, such that the cosmos gets to occur, gets to happen, gets to become something, gets to be a world. like our finitude, the limitations of our perspectives and our horizons, right? In our ontological constitution, right? The moment we are is the moment we've transcended everything, and in particular things, and the situation we're in gets to appear within the horizons of that transcendence, right? And it's a world, and it's language. We can talk about it. And I would say, like, the beginning part of my life was all about that. Other thing that we can also do is we can turn around back on our own existence and then notice that part of us that is thing-like, right? There's a body and it's kind of a center, a locus, a location. You dress it, and you know that central character in all of your thoughts. That one. That one is starting to. There's a sense in which, when you really think about it, right? And I think getting older maybe is what they mean by wisdom, right? Maybe this is wisdom that's happening. Who would have thought that? But really, at a much deeper level, I am that being whose eyes extend out on the horizon and gather all these particular things into intelligibility and significance, right? Things get to speak as entities, as beings. All that happens ontologically. So in some sense, and it's much less the fact that I'm me being one of the things in that horizon is really the more minimal part. Because I think that which really has claim on us is being. It stakes its claim, right? Because in some sense, being needs us for it to happen, for it to become something. It needs our finitude. It needs our death, in some sense, our mortality, the horizon for which it gets to gather up and conceal itself and reveal itself as a particular thing, as sunsets, as lifetimes, as cars, as mountains, people. Without that clearing, without that opening for the cosmos to become world, I would imagine the experience of the universe without our death, without our finitude, I guess would be the experience of just like, say you were to take a picture from every possible angle and point of position throughout the whole universe, however infinite amounts of pictures that would be from every single angle, and then you combine that into one picture, and then you develop that picture. You combine it, just developed that into one picture. What would you see? I'm not sure, but I have a feeling you would see something like absolute gray. And you could look at that and you could either say that's a picture of, You could either say that's a picture of everything, or you could just as well say it's a picture of nothing. But I think that's probably what the universe would be like without us. So this kind of sense is kind of neat. I have this sense in which to relax back behind your eyes and into your senses and into the source of your existence. And really, you can find the world rushing in because it just needs you to be. I mean, now as I talk about it, I'm going, wow, we are one loved, we are the most loved thing in the universe, I think. But on some level, it's not. I guess the point of that is it's less about us. And the ethics seems to change, because then it becomes less about the survival and prosperity of this entity that I dress every morning, right? To taking all of my practice powers and developing my capacity for genuine, deep observation, right? Develop my capacities to listen, to see, to sense, to love, to receive all of it, to be the witness. Yeah. What more could you ever ask for?